So here's the thing, about the best Benjamin J. Grimm figure. There's one company's take that surpasses every other one that's been created, probably every figure that will get done in the future. It's perfect in every way except for the price tag. And you could argue the price is worth it for what you get. But for those of you who are kind of like me, like, oh man, money does matter tonight. I decided it made sense to go ahead and break it down to go take a look at four other potential contenders for, if not the definitive version of the thing, but the second best and really close runner up on a budget version of the thing. I think I've got four strong contenders. And I want to break them down to see if they will actually live up to that title. Or if I should just say, it's time for all of us to start saving up our pennies and dollars so we can get that definitive one. But let's break it all down right now. What's up, everybody? It's Jeffrey Lyles, welcoming you to another edition of Lyles Figure Files. The Thing is an awesome character. He is amazing, amazing, amazing. Jack Kirby Stanley created the heart and soul of the Fantastic Four and one of the best characters in all of comics, not just Marvel. He's amazing and great. He embodies so much of what makes Marvel Comics awesome. And breaking down all these different contenders, I was like, all right, well, they've got to have the likeness. And if you decide, all right, well, to me, Jack Kirby's not the definitive artist of the Fantastic Four, you're probably going, it's John Byrne for me. And I think there's some other ones, strong contenders, but those are the two that I think if you were going to take a look at the best version of the thing, that should be your guiding light of if it's close to this likeness, either of these likenesses, that's it for me. That's a good choice. And then, like, all right, well, what are some other categories that make sense? Scale, because the thing has been drawn different heights, different widths, depending on who's drawing them. And I think a more consistent one is the Burn, the Kirby take. If you go by them, you'll be okay. And then paint jobs in this case, because you'll see with both the Kirby and the Burn that there's a nice bit of shading that not a lot of companies take the time to do just right with him, where it's got this black, heavy black wash shading to kind of break up the all rock appearance. And that matters for the thing because he's not just an orange Cheeto. There's some depth, there's some layers to these rocks. You see it in both the Burn, the Kirby takes on them. And not a lot of companies do that with their figures. So they're going to knock that out because that's going to be something that a lot of them don't do. But in this category, in this competition, I do want to consider the paint job because that's pretty important here. Accessories are largely a wash because most of the time companies just go, here's your thing figure, be happy. And then others decide, let's add in some accessories with different versions, slight tweaks, different variations, maybe even a chase. So I'll take a look at some of those chase options or variant options for you with these four contenders. And, like I said, a lot of companies have taken their cracks at the thing. And before I get into those, I just wanted to do a quick trip down memory lane because as I was looking for options, I found this on Amazon and it just kind of blew my mind. So, way back when I've been talking about these, I mentioned I was done with figure collecting, I was over it, but I stumbled into KB Toys and they happen to have these Marvel superheroes, Marvel Universe figures 3 for 10. And I had gotten hooked way back into Marvel characters with the Iron Man and Fantastic Four cartoons. When I went into that KB and they had these figures, both the Fantastic Four and Iron Man figures, 3 for $10. I was a KB stalking fool getting all these figures. And I just happened to see this, even with this price tag. I was like, this is amazing. I definitely needed to include that. But this was the figure along with the Reed, Sue, Johnny. all those other characters from those cartoon shows that got me back into collecting super hardcore, big time, to the point I'm talking to y'all every week about figures. So that thing figure is one of the culprits of my newfound rekindled love of all things action figures. But there's some candidates, and here's another one that's not here, but I just happen to pull this figure out. I love this. I think it's so fun and cool. It's the Mini Mates version, and this guy is so cute. I mean, you can see he actually is the one that has that plating colored right, so the black is actually there. And he's got an oversized brow. He's got bigger fists, and he's got a boxy torso that you might not be able to make out. But this figure actually is one of the best likenesses in terms of getting the head with the brow just so the coloring of the bricks perfect. He's just small, but he's a really fun figure, and I love having the Mini Mates version of the Fantastic Four because I think from Reed, Sue, Johnny, and Ben, they're the best takes on the Fantastic Four because each one is flawless based on how they look in the comics. So Mini Mates are definitely a good option. Not in this category though. And another one that, is an honorable mention. I wanted to shout him out because when Hasbro was finally able to uncork X-Men and Fantastic Four is a really exciting time. And Walgreens was the home of the Fantastic Four. So every quarter, I guess it was, we were getting more Fantastic Four characters. And it was so exciting. And it was like, please, Walgreens, keep this thing going just so we can get all four of the Fantastic Four. And we did. So shout out to Walgreens for providing us with this initial version of the thing from the updated take from Hasbro's Marvel Legend run. And you see, this is pretty solid. They almost had the bricks down right with this wash, the way they handled it. But the brow is just all kinds of off because it's not as pronounced. It's still in the forehead. It needs to hang out a little bit more. So it's not quite there, but this is a really fun figure. And again, I have a very soft spot for that one because this was the first updated Hasbro Marvel Legends thing that I had in my collection. And he's a really fun figure to pose even now. I mean, he doesn't hold up as well to some of the others, but he's always got a place in my collection, and I'm not getting rid of him. And another one that I also wanted to include for this honorable mention section is the superhero showdown version of the thing. And this picture comes courtesy of General Joe's Reborn.com. Definitely give a shout out there. There's a really nice, solid 3.75-inch version of the thing. And you can see how bulky he is. He looks really solid. There's the Human Torch. It's kind of one of those reasons why I didn't go all the way into that line. But this version of the thing is one I think a lot of people go, scale be dang. This is a really good version of the thing. I never found this figure in stores, and I really did want him. So, I figure if I had him, maybe he would be included in this. I don't like to mention too many figures that I don't have in hand for this comparison. I try to leave it to just one. So that's why this one's not in this category. But it's a really strong looking figure. It's really good. And you can see how he matches up with the Hulk. So you got to be able to do that. But a really good one, fun figure. So if you want, there's another option to consider as well. Now that means we're all done with our honorable mentions. And so let's start up with the first contender. This is from the Marvel Universe line. And I think I've mentioned before, I have purged my Marvel Universe collection on 2 occasions, and I've bought it all over again for the third time. And this one's not the one that I consider to be my definitive version. I was looking through my collection going, wait, I don't have this one. Of course not, because I sold it twice. Anyway, it's this version of the thing. And this is the one that came in the two packs of Secret Wars. And I really just want Hasbro to do these all over again. Maybe just 2 packs of Secret Wars until my heart's content. You see the price tag is $44.99 for this bulldozer and the thing set. I don't have the Secret Wars thing right now. Maybe I'll go back and track him down, but right now he's not in my collection. OAFE.net does have this one, and this is probably the one I would recommend the most because it's the most classic version of the thing. You can see he actually has the wash with a little bit of black in the blue tights. I really love that. And I don't know, and I know the hunchback deal is not accurate, but I just love that look. You can see he's got the big pronounced brow. So I do have the one that came in the 3-pack, and this figure is nice and big and bulky, and he's got great detailing. Note the lack of the paint shading, like the mini mates version, which is still going to win in this case. But it's a really big and bulky figure, and it has that width to him, but he's not super tall. I have the Mr. Fantastic, so you can get a sense of their scale. And typically in the Marvel Handbook, John Byrne had Mr. Fantastic at 6'2", and Benjamin J. Graham the Thing at 6'1". So he's actually shorter based on how John Byrne broke down how they look. Excuse me. So you can see here, not too far off on height. I like that a lot. And this figure has pretty solid articulation, no double jointed elbows or anything, but you can see the nice range you can get out of those, not butterfly, but the ball jointed shoulders. They have good range, so he can do all kinds of fun stuff. Single jointed knees that don't offer too much in terms of that movement, but he's got feet that are nice and big. So it's just a fun figure. I really like this one. I thought they did a great job just pulling him off, and he's just one of my favorites in this Marvel Universe line. And the bonus for those figures, of course, if you have the HasLab Galactus, you can have them really looking up to that figure because they scale in even better with him. So there's that version of the thing. And if a smaller scale is more up to your speed, you can get a Marvel Universe thing. He's not cheap now for about $45. But again, that's because he's in a 2-pack. Like I said, I recommend the Secret Wars version the most. I just think the colors are more classic, and you get a very classic version of Bulldozer. And, we don't have that from the Marvel Legends line proper. And I still want that for sure. So there you go. The Marvel Universe version of the thing, $45, and you get another figure with it. No accessories, of course, but maybe unless you want to count Bulldozer. And he's a pretty solid figure too. Next up, the next contender is let's go old school. Let's not go with that one right now. Let's go with the Toy Biz version. And this guy stayed in my collection for a long time. This is not Marvel Legends Series 2 version of the thing. This is the one with the Mike Wieringo head sculpt. And I mentioned there are different runs of Fantastic Four that people consider theirs. This is probably my third favorite. I love this head sculpt. This is direct from a cover that Wieringo drew. And this figure is basically the same as the Marvel Legends 2. So it's got those wonky shoulders that pop out and look really bad from the back, but you can get a nice little, it's clobbering time. He's got really fun articulated fingers. So a lot of people get a little bit creative with them, but that's really fun and really cool to see being able to do that. This is when Toy Biz was just showing off with articulation, like, yeah, we've even got articulated fingers. And just a fun switch up. He's kind of broad and bulky. He's not super tall. Here's a retro version of Mr. Fantastic, just so you can kind of appreciate the scale. He's not too much bigger. I kind of think of him as the Mike Zeck version of the thing, just in terms of he was way taller, not quite the way Kirby and Byrne drew him, but still shorter than the Hulk. And this one, this is early days of Toy Biz, so single jointed elbows, but he's got some fun range with these arms. He can kick out his leg, and again, big feet, so he can stand up pretty well. Articulated toes, Dan would love that, and really fun. And I had this guy in my collection so long as my main thing figure on a display, and it was just a really fun deal. So this one really solid. The only problem with those big gaps in the shoulder, really hard to kind of hide and contain, but he was really fun, and I still love that one too. And let me break down some of those extras that you could get with this guy. Since I went a little rogue in my breakdown order, let's take a look here at those options. So this one was part of the Marvel Legends Toy Biz 5 pack or 6 pack if you want to go. Actually, it's more than that. So we've got a Doctor Doom figure, and we've got a half torch, half unflamed Johnny Storm. Again, this is from a Mike Waringo cover. So it was really fun to do this. We've got a Mr. Fantastic, and he's got his lab coat. And he's also got a ball accessory, although it's not as cool because it doesn't match up with the blues from this Fantastic Four attire. A Waringo Sue Storm head sculpt, a Franklin Richards. Again, I wish he were in the same shade of blue as the others, but whatever. Herbie's included, and Benjamin J. Grimm. So this set's great. It has so much stuff, and it's 150. Excuse me. If you want a signature look from one artist's style, here you go. You can see the actual Rango covers, and you can see here that look for the thing. Really great work, and the torch half done, half flamed on, flamed off. Sue Storm. So that is an exact matchup to that artwork. So it's really fantastic. Really good stuff. And you can add a Herbie figure in this mix. So it's $150. I don't think that's a terrible price point for that set. And if you wanted a Fantastic Four all in one with Doctor Doom and Herbie, I still recommend it because it's a fun set. But yeah, so that's this figure, and he still holds up pretty well against most of your Marvel Legend figures. Again, just don't look at him from the back, but I do like him. And I don't know if you can really appreciate how grimy he looks. He's not nearly as clean as, say, this one, but there's something to this grimy look that kind of works too. Although I think they went a little bit overboard, like Toy Biz would, with the detail on that paint and the wash. It's a little bit too dirty in there, but it's a really solid sculpt, and they did a fantastic, pun intended, job on that one. So let's move on to another candidate, and then one that I didn't get. So I just always thought it was a little bit too big, not quite the Thing figure, and I wanted to add to my collection. But I know a lot of you all are fans of it, so I wanted to include it as well. And that is the Diamond Select version of the Thing. Let's pull this out a little bit bigger. So you can see this guy is huge. He's massive. He's got great sculpting. So you can see all the plate work. I think that's really well done. It is not just a quick sculpted deal. It's all kind of jagged little edges there, and he's got some great sculpting on that. I do think his head looks a little bit too tiny. I mean, his body is massive, and you don't really quite get that. I'm not sure the artist, they're trying to capture with this, but the brow, again, you don't want it to have that reptilian look like an abomination. It needs to protrude away from the head. And this eye here looks good. He looks like Johnny's really pissed him off once again. I'll show you some other photos that don't quite make that look as nice. I love the airbrushing here, though. That really looks nice. Get a little bit of black into that blue, showing off that detail. And he's got the big chunky boots. I kind of like seeing the Thing's feet just because that's part of the unique look for him. But there you go with him. So that's the Diamond Select one. And here are some photos courtesy of our friends over at Superhero Hype. And you can see kind of where this one goes awry. So here's the head sculpt, and it's like not quite what we were hoping for. So there you go, a little bit better version for it. You can see how the painted detail gets lost here. At this point, there's some black, but it's kind of sloppily thrown in. I don't know what's going on with his other eye. Did he tangle with the Hulk? Got a black eye going here. And the detail on the head sculpt gets a little soft. And this wash here looks dirty and dingy, kind of like it's just hastily thrown on there, not quite as well intentioned as some of the other looks for him. Here you can see what he comes with, an accessory backdrop, but it's kind of like it's worthless because this is to scale on this picture. So it's a stand, and one side features Reed, Sue, Johnny. The fan just Reed, Sue, and Johnny, because you've got your Thing figure right here. But it's just like, what is this? This doesn't even fill out the backdrop. So you can put him here like he's in the middle of the street. And again, this backdrop doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And you can see that paint job doesn't look quite as good as it did with that prototype photo. So it's okay. In articulation, I've always had an issue with this one. I've seen this one in hand, so there's no torso articulation whatsoever. It's just that here in the waist. You can see he's got the shoulders, so he's got some ball jointed elements there. But look at the elbow. It's not giving enough range to do much with the way that socket's set up. So you're limited with what you can do there. Again, his elbow is giving you maybe 30 degrees, if that. So not a lot of options on that end. Let's take a look at how he scales with some of the other. Here's the package photo. Here, I think, is the scale version. So this is the Mr. Fantastic. And this one is really, truly fantastic. I think he's one of the best versions we've seen of Reed. The Johnny Storm is way too gangly, too tall. He doesn't match up well. And you can see how disjointed this Diamond Select version of the Fantastic Four looks. Now, we don't have a picture here from Superhero Hype with Sue Storm in the mix. She and Reed look great together, but this four doesn't look great altogether. Again, I'm not going to knock him for having the Thing be so gigantic compared to Reed or Johnny. It's just the blues don't match up really well, and it's just not quite coming together. You can get a sense of how small the Thing's head is just when looking at this. I'm sure our buddy Lawson has some artist breakdown in terms of how big the head should be compared to the body. But you can see with Reed, I mean, his head looks pretty solid next to this body, whereas Things is just too small. Doesn't really match up too well. So there's that one from Diamond Select. Decent enough figure. I just don't see if a lot of people go, yes, that's the one I need to have in my collection. That one is for me. So you got that. And let's see here. Okay, I forgot to break down an accessory option, which I wanted to with the Mike Warango version. There's a chase option, if you will. So there's another box set of these guys with yet another, let's close you out, version of the Fantastic Four. And this one has a gigantic hand for Reed. So there's another option for you. But you can see we've got the fedora trench coat look for the Thing. Now, this one from our friends over toywiz.com, $124.99. I think the Thing figure's solid. It matches up with some of the other ones. The Johnny Storm, you can see, is matching up with him pretty well. Not so much with the black and blue of Reed and Sue, but this gigantic hand for Reed is kind of cool. You get this set for 125. So there's another option for him. And now we've got everything you could want, but you don't get Dr. Doom. You don't get Reed as a ball. You don't get Franklin. You don't get Herbie. So a little bit of a trade-off there. So that kind of leads me to, before I get to what I think is the definitive one, let me just go ahead here and break down the one that I think is the closest to the winner here. That is the retro Thing. And this guy, I really like. Check the brow. It's sticking out past the head. So that's the winning formula. All those bricks, this is basically a repaint from the original Walgreens sculpt. We had a different one in the mix there, but I think this one with the color just pops so much better. And a little bit too much orange, and there's some weird color disjointed elements there. You can see the yellow orange and the orange. It doesn't quite match up all that great, but really solid. Otherwise, let's take a look at the possible accessories for this guy. I think they're strong on that end. I love this head sculpt. I know some of you all don't, but I really like it. It just seems like Ben's talking to us, like, hey, Stretch Show, settle it down. Let's talk. And this is the face that I use, the head sculpt I use when I have the Avengers coming over for poker night and got Ben here. I wish he came with a hat, a poker hat with the brim and maybe some sunglasses and some cards. So we can't have him with his stogie. That'd be fun. He's got the different hands, and I have both versions here. Got the fist because what's clobbering time without it? And he's got the big grabbing hand. You can see again the articulation is limited and hindered. He has a little bit more range than some of the others simply because it can pull up a little bit more. So maybe that's a 65-degree inch angle. No bicep articulation, so that's missing. Ball jointed shoulders, got a little bit of tilt here, just a little bit. You can see he can go that far down and that far back. His head can't really go up but so far. He can do some really fun poses though, and that's why I really like this guy. So he can really charge into action, do his thing. Let me show you a few more pictures from my own review of this figure, and just to show what this guy can really look like when he's having fun and partying. So got this. And again, I love this head sculpt. It has so much personality. Here are the three Hasbro thing figures. This is the one I was talking about. I like the grumpy sourpuss head sculpt. Basically can work on there. So you've got another accessory option if you wanted to. But there's that. So you see how they kind of mash up scale wise. This is thing with the all four of the other three retro Fantastic Four members. I think they look really nice together. He scales in really well with other Marvel characters, so that's good. And you see him, he can stand on one foot, no problem. He is not a toppling shelf destroyer figure. He can hold those poses really well, and he can bunch up something with those grasping hands. I love that. And here's another running shot and about a clobber old Torch for running his mouth too much. I love being able to do this because he can balance on one leg and even kick Herbie. So that was fun. Definitely one figure that I would recommend. He is $40, $48 right now. So he's super not cheap like he was. Ollie's did have this guy for $10. If you missed out on him, you're going to pay a little bit more, but he's a really good figure. Now to the one that I think is the winner, not think he's the winner, but that price tag is hurts him big time in terms of being by far the one you should absolutely get, even though he is. And that, of course, is the Mezco 112, Where the Players Dwell. This figure is amazing. Again, I think it's so ironic that you take a look at all these Fantastic Four figures. The one that actually has the paint appropriate take is the Mini Maze version. But this one is perfect in every other way. You see, he looks really big next to the rest of them. I do dig that here. One of the reasons I haven't gotten the shed is their take on the Human Torch. What's with the half one? Uh, but but Johnny Ben is amazing. He comes with his trench coat and this light post as well. He's got all these different head accessories, and this guy just looks amazing. It's got posing wire in the trench coat too, so you can do all that. I do wish he didn't have the biker shorts attire, but that's the one gripe with him, I'd say. But I mean, look at that head sculpt. That looks great. The Reed one looks awesome too. Sue's okay, but man, I love those other ones. They look really great. There's the Johnny, and I really like that head sculpt for Johnny too. So looking at the four of them, they look really fun, really cool together. There's another shot. This one, I think, really truly sells it that this is by far the best version of the thing in figure form. I mean, this guy looks great. You can see he's even got the shoulder articulation, bicep deals. He can actually make that pounding, I'm going to bust your head in torch head sculpt. So he's got mid torso articulation too, really solid stuff there. So he's got what the other ones lack. Here is another example of all the stuff he's got that the others don't have. He's got the fedora, he's got sunglasses, the full look. He's got all kinds of different hand expressions. He's got a steel beam that he can bend. He's got some explosions. I don't quite understand what those are, but he's got all these head sculpts. And by far, this is my favorite one. This yelling, this is a full-on clobbering time. This is the agitated, I'm really irritated one. This is the smiling one. Those Yancey Street bums thought they had me. No way. And this is somber. Alicia never loves me because I'm this monster. But he's even got a light post. So this figure's awesome and really great. Again, there's that one sticking point. That sticking point is he is $400, $420 because he's part of this full set with the rest of the Fantastic Four. And I have mentioned this Johnny Storm is like the one problem for me with this set. So it's like, I love how the rest of them look. I mean, Mr. Fantastic can stretch all out. Sue can go invisible, but they couldn't quite nail this transition point for Johnny, which means 420 is a really big price point for him. And then let's take a look over at eBay. If you decided, well, I just want him. it's going to run you basically the same price. So this is an auction going on right now, Yancey Street, Beam, Light Post, 179. And then, of course, you're not going to get that shit for free. And the shipping for it is $19.99. So that's more than $200 for this one figure. And at that point, you might as well just buy the whole set. Which leads me, of course, to that's the greatest version, the bestest version of the thing in figure form. Mezco takes it away with no problem. If you have 420 plus shipping for them, but if you don't, which one stands out? Is it this one, the Marvel Universe one? A little bit smaller, but if you're concerned with your shelf space, if you're going, I'm all in to G.I. Joe, Transformers, WWE, whatever, and I don't have space for a big Marvel display, this is a really good one. Again, I would recommend the Marvel Secret Wars version with the more traditional outfit. It matches up pretty well if you overlook the hunchback, which I do. Or you want to go classic old school and get this Toy Biz one where you can get the whole set, the whole family for 170 and a Doctor Doom figure thrown in there as well. And then, hey, like my thing figure, chunky. I always have to watch that phrasing there. And do I want to get this one from Marvel Select? This version is pretty big and not my favorite. There's so many elements that are kind of off on it. Or I go with this one. I think for right now, this is the best stand-in for the Mezco one. I think this Marvel Legends figure is really good, but there's room for improvement. Case in point, of course, the bicep articulation that's missing a little bit deeper cut so we can have more range, or even just double jointed elbows. Got the double jointed knees, so that's great. A little bit more rocking torso action would be fun. Back and forth torso action, and being able to look up at Johnny going, "Come here, you bum." He's really good. And the good news is, I think pretty strongly that with the new Fantastic Four movie coming up, Hasbro is going to go, let's crank out the Fantastic Four again. Thinking that again, we're going to see hopefully all those changes implemented with articulation. Butterfly shoulders would be awesome too. So I think that one will be, whenever we get that figure, the one to get. For now, I recommend this retro thing figure. And if you've got the money, of course, no questions asked, go Mezco. But that's my take. Which version do you own? Which one do you think is the best version of the thing? As always, let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be breaking this down again with some more characters. Casey Jambalaya 2516. I do have that Lobo one in the shelf, so don't worry. I do have that figure review breakdown coming up. The rest of you, if there are any figures you want to see me compare and contrast to come up with a definitive version, let me know your nominations, your suggestions of characters you want to see me break down. For now, that's it. This episode of Lyle's Figure Files has been filed.